And welcome to a VSA video blog in a series of video blogs we're doing after my trip at the end of August to Mexico to see four Mexican mining companies. And delighted today to have Dan Barnholden, the CEO of Luca Mining. Dan, welcome.
Thanks, Andrew. Thrilled to be here.
Yeah, look, I mean, it was a fascinating trip that I did. And what was interesting, you actually, in many ways, were the odd one out. A lot of people think of Mexico as gold and silver. The mine that I went to visit, of course, is mainly zinc. So a little bit different. You do have two mines, actually, but why don't you just, first of all, quickly introduce the two mines you've got. You will be able to see as you talk to them on the map where they are, because one's obviously north in Durango, one's south of Mexico City. And then we'll quickly run through the Campo Morado mine that I went and visited.
Sure. Yeah, we've got, as you mentioned, we've got two operating mines in Mexico. One is the Campo Morado mine. That's the one that you visited. That's south of Mexico City, about a 6.5 hour drive due south in Guerrero. As you mentioned, it's a VMS deposit. It was originally primarily zinc, but given the changes in commodity prices and changes in the nature of the ore body, it's actually on its way to becoming more of a precious metals mine, and we can talk a little bit about that. Our other mine, as you mentioned, in the north, or a bit further north, it's in the northwest corner of Durango. We access that via aircraft out of Culiacan, and that is sort of more of a traditional low sulfidation epithermal deposit that you would find all over Mexico. So the very typical Mexican underground mine there.
Yeah. So, I mean, going back to Campo Morado, it's pretty much in the middle of nowhere. It's on a big sort of hillside. You've got a huge process plant sort of up on the hill. You've got your entrance to the mine down the hill. You're mining inside the hill, sort of thing. Your exploration's at the top. So it's quite complex, isn't it? And you obviously sort of, if one a better word, inherited it and have done a lot of work to make it much more productive, haven't you?
Well, yeah, I mean the history of Campo Morado is an interesting one. It goes back centuries, but it goes back in the modern time to the late '90s. It was a project that was built, a mine that was built by a group called Farallon, which is a group company of Hunter Dickinson, the famous Vancouver mining, call them a venture capital firm. And so it was built in the '90s, built in the 2000s, sold in 2011 to a European group, a Belgian group called Nearstar for $410 million. And again, it was all it was a very high grade, world class quality deposit in the zinc space. That high grade zinc has largely been mined out, but what's been left behind is much higher gold grade material that we are in the process of exploring. We're confirming the existence and the grades and the tonnage of that ore body. And over the course of the next 2 years, we are going to be transitioning our mining operations into the higher grade gold zones. And so while you were on site, Andrew, you saw some of the exploration work ongoing. As you said, it's further to the north, up the hill. It's actually going to be easier mining for us because it is at kind of the same elevation as the mill is, and so the haulage will be shorter, but most importantly, the gold grades will be higher there.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely. I did go and see a drill rig in action, and actually, I think one of the interesting things that came to me when I did the visit and talking to your geologist, and actually, I was shown around by Ramon, which made it very easy because I've got the same name. But was
Ramon.
You've got in many ways two strategies going forward. One is obviously more exploration, and your geologist and exploration manager is very excited about that. But the other is potentially acquisitions. How do you work out which route you go down?
I think at the moment we're open to both, and the plan is frankly both. We've got this extraordinary organic growth opportunity that I've outlined, which is and I say for shorthand, we are looking to double the gold grades that we're mining, and we're looking to double the recoveries. And I'm sure you got an overview of what that recovery is going to look like. And there's a slide that we've put together, and it talks about that gold opportunity. And right now we're in the exploration phase. Then we're also contemporaneously working with Ausenco on the recoveries, improving the recoveries. We're looking to double those recoveries from 25 to 30% to 50, 60, maybe even 70% on the recoveries. Then we'll put out studies that talk about the economics, and then we will execute that. And that's sort of an 18 to 24 month process. So by at the latest 2028, we should be really thought of more as a gold mine here, and that's the goal. So that's on the one hand, Andrew, and then on the other hand, we think that we've demonstrated an ability to turn around underperforming mines. We've done that with Tahuehueto. We've done that with Campo Morado. We've taken these underperforming mines. We've added operational expertise. We've added exploration expertise, financial expertise. We've recapitalized the company. And so we really turned the company around in all of those key ways. And so on the M&A side, we're looking for other companies or assets that we can apply that strategy to. And, I say for shorthand, look, I know we're not competing for the Gatos and the Silvercrests and the Mags. Of course, those are top tier world-class assets. But what we're looking to do in our strategy is to take third tier assets and turn them into second tier assets.
I'll come back actually onto how you've managed to get your debt and everything down. Just quickly, finally, on Campo Morado, though. I mean, you have a very interesting process plant. It's actually very large. You presumably got plenty of capacity, and you've got what I describe as a pretty basic flow sheet and pretty standard to what everybody else out there has. You crush and float and create a concentrate and then allow an off-taker to take it away for you. So in that respect, it's pretty simple. I mean, but you do have the ability to put quite a lot more through that process plant, I think, don't you?
We do, but the opportunity really that we're looking at is not so much increasing the throughput. It's going to an ultra-fine grind. It's a refractory ore body, so to liberate the precious metals, it's going to be an ultra-fine grind. And then on the back end, we're going to look at cyanidation in a vat leach process, and then ultimately a Merrill-Crowe. So it's moving the process. Remember, the mine was built as a zinc mine, so the mill was built to optimize recovery of zinc and copper. Now, what we have is a higher grade ore body on the gold and precious metals side. And so we are going to be, over the course of the next 1.5 to 2 years, we're going to be making changes to the flow sheet at the mill to optimize for precious metals recovery. And so that will include, like I said, ultra-fine grind on the front end, cyanidation on the back end. And like I said, that should optimize for precious metals recovery. So what we're really doing is we're building a new gold mine at the Reforma deposit, and we already have a mill that just needs some moderate capital investment. And so I like to think of it as it's a very low capex brand new gold mine.
Yeah, I mean, it could be very, very attractive to investors, couldn't it? And also, up in Durango, and I can't pronounce the name of your mine. My pronunciation is terrible. You were much better at it. But I mean, that one, you're looking at...
Think of the H's as W's.
That's right. Okay. That one you can bring into production again will up your gold quantities, that you become basically 50-50 precious metals, 50-50 sort of zinc and lead, won't you?
Well, no, we are today. Today we are actually a little bit skewed. We haven't changed our metals mix, but over the course of the last 6 months or so, we've gone from 50-50 precious base to actually in Q2, we were 54-46 precious. And that's not a consequence of a change in the metals that we're producing. It's a consequence of the changes in the commodities prices. So we are, just by virtue of the moves in the commodities prices, becoming more of a precious metals mine. And Tahuehueto is in production. We declared commercial production in Q1. We are in the process of ramping that up. Right now, our throughput's kind of in the 900 tons per day, but we are working on a plan to push that to 1,200 tons a day, so a 25% increase. And then we think that the mine should be able to do 1,500 tons a day. So that would be a pretty material increase. The goal for that mine is to get to 50,000 ounces gold equivalent of production. So, in our vision, we think that Campo Morado, given the improvements that we're talking about on the gold front, could get to 100,000 ounces. Tahuehueto to 50,000 ounces. So we think that we have an organic growth strategy to get to 150. And then we'd like to add a third asset to the portfolio to get to 200,000 ounces. We think that companies that produce 200,000 ounces trade with market caps well in excess of $1 billion. So that's the sort of 2-year goal for this company. And of course, that's a 3 times return from here.
Yeah, clearly on my next trip, I need to go to Tahuehueto so I actually can get it all correct and get all my facts correct and pronounce it.
We'd love to have you, Andrew.
Yeah. So let's just go to I mean, one of the things where you've been really successful, I think, is when you came into this, you had quite a lot of debt and you've really cleaned up the balance sheet. You've got the debt down to virtually nothing. Your cash is looking strong. So you've been very good at what I describe as corporate management.
Thank you. Yeah, when I came in, there was $18.2 million in debt. We bought back a convertible debenture and we canceled it, reducing our issued and outstanding, our fully diluted issued and outstanding by 4.5%. So that was something that investors really appreciated. Obviously, we're focused on our fully diluted shares outstanding, trying to manage that, keep that low. And then paying back the debt, as I mentioned, 18.2. At the end of Q2, it was 8. We're paying it down at a rate of about $850,000 a month. We will be debt-free by mid-June of 2026. So that the end is within sight. 8 or 9 more months, and we will be completely debt-free, which will allow us to repurpose that almost $1 million a month into exploration and capital improvements and so forth.
And again, just I mean, we all like to look at the cap table and the corporate structure. You actually don't have at the moment, and funny enough, I see this as a bull sign, that many institutions on your shareholder structure. You've got pretty good insiders and close friends, if you see what I mean. There's quite a lot of retail out there. But presumably now, I mean, you've become quite big now. You're sort of over 400 million Canadian dollars. As you say, you're heading towards $1 billion. We know some of the sort of ETF people are starting to look at most of the Mexican gold and silver miners, actually, because they almost have to put it in. But, I mean, do you think that actually one of the next things you'll do is start to get an institutional following, which, again, could take the stock up to another level?
Well, that's the hope. And this week, in fact, Andrew, this afternoon, Friday afternoon, we expect to be, or we will be added to the GDXJ. That news came out last Friday. That was our estimate was 8 to 9 million shares of buying. So now we are in the COPX, the copper index. We are in the GDXJ, and part of what happens there then is institutions that are closet indexers or that the index is their benchmark to beat. They're forced to look more closely at us because obviously we're a component of that index, and they could potentially overweight us, they may underweight us, but it certainly puts us now on everybody's radar screen. And so that, I mean, right now we're at about 8 or 9% institutional. I would like to bring our institutional ownership to 25% in the short to medium term. We were at a conference last week. We were very hotly pursued by several investment banks. So we're starting to crack the nut of the institutional following. And so I think that will break the dam. And, notwithstanding the fact that our share price has done quite well year to date, we think on a comparative basis, we're still relatively cheap compared to some of our peers.
But we're hotly following you as well. So there you go. One sort of final thing to end up, you clearly have a lot of expertise and knowledge in Mexico. Fairly recently, Shineborn came in as the new first female president. She seems to be much more open into mining, but it is something that investors worry a little bit, isn't it? I mean, Mexican mining, you get a few people who are holding their breath. How do you feel at the moment about where mining in Mexico is going?
Well, Andrew, when I took the role now about 14 months ago, that was the first question everybody asked. Oh my goodness, they're going to ban mining in Mexico. They're going to, they're going to shut down all the open pits, et cetera, et cetera. And my attitude at that time was, you're more likely to ban fast food in America than you are to ban mining in Mexico. So, really, we think that was kind of a tempest in a teapot. But The real proof is in the pudding is going to happen when some of these bigger open pit mines that have been in permitting limbo for a long time, when they get their permits, I think that that will be the last straw for some investors that are on the sidelines to come and say Mexico's serious about reigniting its mining sector.
I mean, in truth, there isn't. Some people get confused. They think there's a ban on open pit mining. There isn't. It's just that no permits have been given. Isn't that correct?
Correct. All the ones that are in operation continue to operate, and there are some
Yeah.
huge ones like Newmont's Penasquito mine. Obviously, it operates and it produces an absolute ton of gold.
Yeah. Look, Dan, we've chatted for 15 minutes. If anybody else wants to know more information, please get in touch with myself or directly with Dan and his team. It was a fascinating visit. I really enjoyed it. I really can see the potential because, as I say, you've got potential acquisitions. I think your exploration could be very, very exciting.
Well,
So
we continue to turn the drills and watch for ongoing updates on the drilling at both sites.
I'm sure we'll be chatting again. So thank you, Dan.
Thanks for the support, Andrew. I appreciate your time.